Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, new viewers and Maverick family from all over the world. We have a lot of Canadian news, which is really international news, tied to U.S. news tonight. Canada making headlines with an announcement that negotiations are underway. In fact, Canada is going to be buying new surveillance aircraft from Saab instead of from Boeing. So a big snub of sorts to Donald Trump, and another sign of deepening division between Canada, the United States defense systems, and NATO. Or is it? We'll look at it tonight and you can assess. Also, what else do we have going on? Separatist stuff, of course, in Canada. Again, a sex offender sentenced to 33 years in prison tonight. That involves a Canadian and U.S. authorities. So we have all that and a whole lot more coming up right here after this.
We are the Mavericks. Welcome to the Matrix, baby. Hope you like the view. We are the Mavericks. The world is watching. We are the Mavericks.
So yeah, big news for Canada anyway. Canada is going ahead with negotiations and the purchase of these surveillance aircraft from Saab. So today, the Prime Minister, in front of a packed room at a defense summit, says that Canada is going to be purchasing the GlobalEye, an airborne warning and control system created by Saab. It's a radar system, and it's integrated into Bombardier's Global 6500, transforming that corporate jet into a cutting-edge surveillance aircraft. So these will be manufactured, assembled, produced in Canada, could create up to 3,000 jobs. The contracts still need to be signed, sealed, and delivered, but Bombardier could be manufacturing at least 40 of these aircraft in its plants in Montreal and Toronto. The projected number includes orders from Canada's allies as well, NATO countries. So Carney outlined the deal today during this keynote speech at CANSEC, the largest defense and security trade conference in Canada. They also put out a news release, but we have for you right now the highlights from that public address at CANSEC. Let's go to it first with the defense minister.
Thank you very much, Ian. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bonjour, monsieur, dame. It's great. It's just great to be back here at CANSEC with all of you again. Welcome to Ottawa, my hometown. This is also my electoral district. So I'm looking for voters, if anybody has any intention of moving to Canada or to Ottawa. You know, when many of us met last year, there was a clear recognition that Canada needed to move faster. We needed to rebuild our readiness, strengthen our defense industrial base, accelerate our procurement, and deepen the partnership between government, the Canadian Armed Forces, and Canadian industry. 1 year later, one short year later, under the Prime Minister's strong leadership, that vision is becoming reality. Le Canada entreprend l'un des changements générationnels le plus important.
Okay, so just to be clear that this is for a surveillance aircraft. It is that we are not talking about the Gripen fighter jet at this point, but of course, Saab produces the F-35 or the Gripen, and it's in competition right now with the F-35 from Lockheed Martin. And so this is one of the reasons this is getting so much attention this evening. Let's continue.
Agissons avec rapidité et détermination. To the innovators, the workers, the engineers, the manufacturers, the researchers, the entrepreneurs, the operators, and the industry leaders in this room, thank you. We cannot do this without you. The work happening here matters deeply to Canada. Every
What is going on here? We're still live, but they dropped that feed. Here we go.
Canada is rebuilding, and Canada's stepping forward with renewed confidence and purpose. Because our government understands something rudimentary, something fundamental. A stronger Canada requires stronger national defense. And stronger national defense requires a strong Canadian industrial base. That's why all of you in this room are so important. You're not simply suppliers, you're partners in Canada's security, resilience, and future prosperity. We all know the global security environment is changing rapidly, sometimes too fast to follow. From the Arctic to cyberspace, national security and economic security are now deeply connected. And Canada is responding with seriousness, ambition, and confidence in Canadian capability. Because this country has extraordinary talent, extraordinary workers, and extraordinary companies capable of leading on the world stage. That is what CANSEC represents. Not only the strength of Canada's defense sector, but the strength of Canada itself. And under the Prime Minister's leadership, Canada is showing the world that we are prepared to lead, we are prepared to invest, and we are prepared to meet this moment with confidence and resolve. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and privilege to ask you to join me in helping to welcome the Right Honourable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada. Thank you very much.
Just take the music down so we don't get a copyright strike, and
Thank you very much.
bring it back up.
Wow.
Funny, I'm the first Canadian Prime Minister to speak at CANSEC. I don't know why the other ones didn't come. This is fantastic. What a great way to start the morning. Thank you, David, Minister McGuinty, for your leadership. Secretary of State Fuhrer, for your leadership. President Doug Guzman, for your leadership of the Defense Investment Agency. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Kristen, for your vision, and everyone in this room's vision to build Canada's defense and security industry. You know, I'm here because the world, and you know this far better than I, but even I sense it. Even I sense it. The world of defense and security are changing rapidly. Here at CANSEC, 300 exhibitions, over 100 delegations, the largest CANSEC ever. It is the first held at the newly renamed Cohere Center. If you don't know who Cohere is, you will in the coming years in the world of transformation of artificial intelligence. And it's a sign, that name is a sign of just how integrated technology is becoming with defense. Tout le monde ici présent sait que les présomptions qui ont défini des décennies de politique canadienne en matière de défense et d'affaires étrangères ont été chamboulées. Les menaces auxquelles nous faisons face sont nombreuses et se multiplient. Les incursions dans l'Arctique canadien aux attaques contre notre cyberespace. La nature même de la guerre est en rapide évolution, poussée par la prolifération de drones, de systèmes autonomes et d'armes en orbite. Des conflits pourraient émerger plus près de nos frontières qu'avant, et de nouvelles armes réduisent la distance qui nous en sépare. The world's changed. We all know that. Canada must change with it. We get that. And that's why just 6 weeks after forming government, we announced our ambitious plan to rebuild, rearm, and reinvest in the Canadian Armed Forces. We embarked on this project first and foremost to protect Canadians, to defend our territory, to secure our borders, and to protect our sovereignty. Over the past year, Canada's new government has worked at an unprecedented pace and scale. We've enacted the largest increase in defense investment in Canadian history. We're now protecting Canada's high north and Arctic with year-round armed forces presence on land, sea, and air. We've expanded.
And they're dropping out of the feed again. Let me just, they obviously have an audio issue going on.
And we've given every Canadian Armed Forces member a raise, the largest in a generation, because their pay should reflect the weight of their responsibilities. These things have an impact already. Recruitment in the Canadian Armed Forces is the highest in 3 decades. Canada has achieved NATO's 2% GDP defense expenditure target half a decade ahead of the original schedule, I have to say, for the first time since the fall of the Berlin Wall. I don't know if that's an accomplishment or an admission, but we're there. We are working towards NATO's 3.5% of GDP in 2035 defense expenditure target through major new investments in strategic capabilities, including a modernized submarine fleet and one of the world's largest fleets of icebreakers to strengthen our defense of the Arctic. We are already meeting NATO's 1.5% target for critical defense infrastructure, from upgraded ports, airports, air bases, to new northern operational support hubs to deter threats in the north. And our fiscal framework, our budget, has already provisioned to achieve 4% of GDP in total defense spending by the end of this decade, ahead of NATO's timetable. We will make additional provisions to achieve that 5% NATO target, the 2035 target, at or ahead of schedule. La première mission du gouvernement fédéral est d'assurer.
Okay, so this, it's hard to know exactly what this means in the broader picture. Does it mean it signals a pivot away from the United States to a degree, but it probably isn't quite that simple. Politically, yes, the optics tie into the tariff war, the Kuzma trade negotiations, which are coming up, and the F-35 deal, which remains kind of under review and in limbo. But if you look at the broader picture internationally, this reflects what's going on with NATO. Over here on Daily Mail, NATO turns to Saab GlobalEye, the end of the E-3 AWACS era above the Baltic Sea. Subheading, NATO's reported decision to select the Swedish Saab GlobalEye airborne early warning and control platform as the successor to the aging Boeing E-3A Sentry AWACS fleet may become one of the most consequential strategic aviation shifts in Europe since the end of the Cold War. So Canada is in step with what NATO is doing. And this seems to be the and I hate to use this word again, but a pivot point. But it may be reflective of all of these things going on at the same time. I suspect that it largely is. Now, they did not make an announcement today on the acquisition of additional F-35s beyond the F-35 fighter jets from Lockheed Martin that Canada has committed to absolutely buying. The rest still a big question mark. But I think, in spite of what I've been hearing from some of the pundits online who have been commenting on mainstream media tonight, there's some speculation out there that Canada will still proceed with the F-35 purchase, saying that if the F-35 deal was going to be abandoned and therefore only a small number of F-35s purchased and then the rest Gripens, the announcement would have been made today. But I don't agree with the assessment. I think that the reason we're not getting more information on that today is because this sends a message to the Trump administration heading into the Canada, US, Mexico trade renegotiation, which is on the horizon, although the U.S. administration is placing intense pressure on Canada, using everything at its disposal to do that. Aggressive, confrontational rhetoric, insults. They're clearly involved in the separatist efforts here in Canada to destabilize things. It goes beyond that. And the threat to not open the Gordie Howe Bridge, the new bridge between Windsor and Detroit, all of these things, they're all connected. It's all part of applying pressure to Canada in order for Trump to get whatever it is that he wants, which seems to be the auto industry in its entirety from Canada and a lot of other huge concessions on trade. Well, that F-35 deal is a pretty big bargaining chip because it's billions of dollars, billions and billions over the life of those jets because they're so expensive to operate and maintain. So you have parts and maintenance costs over time, operational costs. And that's all money that would flow back to the United States in large part through Lockheed Martin. So this gives Canada leverage heading into the negotiations on trade if they don't make a decision or an announcement on the F-35/Gripen issue today. That's my assessment. I don't think Canada has made a final decision on that front. So we have to wait and see what happens there. And hopefully those negotiations get going fairly soon. But we are seeing that Canada is moving ahead with other deals with other countries on other fronts ahead of those negotiations, doing what needs to be done in order to survive as a country in the face of this, I'd say, existential threat from Donald Trump and the MAGA administration. Not the United States per se as a whole, not by a long shot, but certainly from Trump and MAGA, yes. That's an assault on Canada. Now, what is this Saab GlobalEye system? Well, I just happen to have the goods on that direct from Saab. They do have a corporate video produced, which we have acquired for your information. Here it is.
The world isn't always as peaceful as we'd like it to be. Threats and conflicts are a reality, and they can occur anywhere, at any time. Some 50 years ago, we made it our mission to help people and societies become safe. Our idea was to improve awareness through smarter surveillance. Since then, we watch and we listen. We stay awake so you don't have to. And if there's something out there, we'll know. No matter how small, fast, or intelligent it may be, we'll find it. GlobalEye, the all-new airborne early warning solution from Saab. In today's highly complex surveillance environments, threats continuously evolve, and facing them demands extended range, and that's where GlobalEye can provide the advantage. GlobalEye is a complete system that combines a new, powerful, extended-range radar with the ultra-long-range Global 6000 jet aircraft from Bombardier. A combination that maximizes mission endurance, operational performance, and crew comfort. By adding more sensors, such as an electro-optical sensor and a maritime surveillance radar to the system, GlobalEye has become a true multi-role system with air, maritime, and ground surveillance, as well as electronic warfare capabilities in a single solution. This means that GlobalEye provides the capabilities required to handle increasingly smaller, faster, and more intelligent threats with ever-decreasing radar cross-sections. It can detect and track numerous objects of any size in all domains simultaneously. And it reclaims the detection range for today's as well as tomorrow's challenges, giving you the time required to act on emerging threats. Combining outstanding performance with cost-effective operation, GlobalEye is uniquely suited to fulfill a wide range of missions and to become a resource-effective multiplier in any air force. With GlobalEye, you gain not only access to leading-edge surveillance capabilities, but also join forces with a company that combines the in-house competencies of a large system integrator with aircraft manufacture and provision of sensors and command and control systems. The all-new GlobalEye constitutes the most recent step in the spiral development of Saab's family of airborne surveillance solutions. Based on nearly 3 decades of airborne early warning experience and a number of systems in operation worldwide, GlobalEye is prepared and ready to act. Over the years, we've been relying on Saab's thinking edge to constantly extend technological and human boundaries to bring a higher level of awareness to our customers. We call it pushing the envelope. GlobalEye, the all-new airborne early warning solution from Saab.
So what are we looking at here? It's going to be a deal where Canada will produce a bunch of these and purchase about 6 of them. And that'll cost taxpayers about $5 billion. And then once that's built, this GlobalEye system will become a key part of bolstering North America's security by detecting and deterring threats in the Arctic. So because it's still integrated into the NATO system, still compatible, I would assume, because the United States is the biggest part of NATO, we will still be working with the United States. But the jets, the system, Saab-based, Canadian-produced, 3,000 jobs, 6 of those surveillance planes purchased for Canada, and the remainder will be sold to other NATO countries. So not producing not just for Canada, but for other countries as well, which will offset the cost of the tariff war to Canada on the automotive front to some degree. But of course, you've got the issue that these things are going to be produced in areas where cars are not being produced. Ontario under intense pressure. But tonight we're seeing as well that BYD, the Chinese automaker, well, so-called Chinese, it's a global company just based in China. That deal is proceeding. In fact, here I'll show you one of the headlines about this tonight. We've been talking about it, as have all media. But a lot of, I would say, paranoia, worry, concern about BYD, Chinese EVs, electric vehicles coming to Canada, but it's happening. In that carve-out trade deal between Canada and China, which will allow 49,000 EVs into the market. Here's the global headline. BYD confirms Canadian launch in late 2026, late this year. And big money, too. An injection of cash to build over 20 dealerships. And I think the biggest focus will actually be in Ontario, but this launch will involve dealerships opening in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, big cities. Executives of BYD say the company will begin rolling out the dealerships as Ottawa's new trade deal with China transforms Canada's EV landscape. So what are we going to find here? What are they going to be shipping to us? The BYD models, the Atto 3 compact SUV, the Seal sedan, and the Dolphin hatchback. Then they're going to bring in that Seagull city car in a second phase. A city car, inexpensive compared to other EVs and new vehicles, with a starting price of around $25,000 Canadian. That would make it the least expensive electric vehicle available in Canada. I think we showed you video of that before, but maybe, just maybe, I can get you some video if the computer will cooperate tonight. BYD Seagull. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. Let's just go over to YouTube. We'll do the YouTube scroll ahead of the Truth Social scroll tonight. Up on the screen we go. There's the what the search produces. They've had lots of reviews on these. BYD Seagull. I'm trying to find corporate stuff here, so not just a car review. This one, that one would probably suffice. Should have had this queued up earlier for you. Sorry about that, but we'll go to this. This looks like a dealership from BHO Motors.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I used to charge people over $1,000.
Get past this commercial, and here we go. Don't touch it. It's going to spy on your brain. You get into that thing and it'll jack you into the matrix. Pink. That's a girl's car. And then he steps on the accelerator and blasts right through the showroom window. Oh. What do you think? It is a cell phone on wheels. And I cannot read the language, so I'm thinking they'll have English on the screen for us. Yeah, the map's on there. They're going to be tracking you, dude. In your girl car. Is that sexist? By the way, there's going to be a big reveal at the end of the program tonight. Don't let me forget.
你好，小迪。
中午好。
导航去松鼠小镇。
I am spying on you. I know where you
搜罗
are
到这
at
些，
times.
想去哪个呀？全程18
I'm
公
looking
里，
for Doug
大约
Ford,
需要
Premier of
24分
Ontario.
钟，右转
He。is afraid of me. Everything's on the screen. It is just focused on the tech, not the car. It's like people who are into stereos, car stereo systems. It's like they're more, especially young guys, right? They're always just more concerned with the stereo system. The car doesn't have to run as long as it has a good radio. Everybody's into the tech, right? The GPS and the cell phone connectivity. Does the car drive itself? Does it have a pink interior? Oh, luxurious vinyl. Yeah. It has a seat and a strap to grab a hold of when your wife is driving. I mean, your husband. Going around a corner. Okay, that's enough. That's the lady seagull. Quite possibly going to be the least expensive electric vehicle for sale in Canada. Stay with me. Be right back.
Maverick News. Expose lies and tell truth. The world is watching.
Speaking of spy cars and cell phones and the new digital era, there has been quite a lot of attention over the last couple of days on Bill C-22 in Canada, talking about this new piece of legislation, which allegedly, we're told, the opposition parties and even the tech companies themselves expressing concern, saying the legislation might allow back doors to be created into cell phone devices. Elizabeth May even asked about this, just I think it was today, if she would be supporting the bill. And she said, no way, not on your life, because they're going to spy on us with these backdoors. It may be true. I have not read all of Bill C-22, so I am still a little bit blind on it. I'll have to find some time somewhere, somehow, to actually read the bill, which is what I try to do when these things come to the surface as major issues. So the government under a lot of heat over this, but today the public safety minister pushing back on a lot of the assertions that there will be a pathway to creating a back door or back doors on cell phones and tablets and other devices that would allow the government to, at some point, to demand that personal information, data, be turned over to them from digital service providers, tech companies. Here's the public safety minister today responding to that. I don't know whether to believe him or not. I always say don't believe him until if he's a politician and his lips are moving. You know the rest. Let's listen in.
Listen, Secretary Sohara and myself, over the last year, have gone across the country, have met with law enforcement, small and large, including our National Police Service, the RCMP, OPP, Sûreté de Quebec, our BC division, and a range of police services like City of Toronto Police, Peel Regional Police. And the one constant that we heard from all of them is the need for a lawful access framework. Right now, our law enforcement agencies are really struggling to protect victims. Victims of sextortion, victims of childhood sexual exploitation, victims of regular extortion, victims who are struggling to find their loved ones because of the increased use of technology that is far outpaced the ability of law enforcement to do its job effectively. At the end of the day, Lawful Access Bill C-22 is about victims. It's about ensuring that law enforcement have the right tools at the right time to be able to do the work that they desperately want to do, which is to save lives and to save communities and to save individuals from harm. And lawful access regime that we put forward, Bill C-22, reflects what we've heard from a range of stakeholders. And I will say that as this goes through the process, the parliamentary process, we look forward to working in a collaborative manner to ensure that we listen and respond to some of the concerns that have been expressed. So whether it's on encryption, whether it's on ensuring that our laws are in line with the Five Eyes partners, including the U.S., we will respond in kind and ensure that the bill is strengthened and it will go forward in a manner that protects, has charter protections as well as is in line with Canadian values.
Will there be backdoors into devices? This is what Apple says.
Let me be absolutely clear. There are no backdoors that is available through this bill. What we have said is that anything that may cause systemic vulnerabilities does not have to be applied by an individual service provider. I will also say we're living in a world where big tech, whether it is Apple, Google, or the range of other big tech companies, are operating without any type of accountability, without any type of protection of privacy. So when we talk about privacy, there's a real conversation to be had as to what that entails. So the companies that are coming forth and talking about privacy protection, talking about vulnerabilities, better step up and provide their path to how they're protecting the privacy rights of Canadians.
Do you believe tech companies are misinforming Canadians on this bill?
I believe there's a number of areas of misinformation. And to be very clear, the encryption issue is one we will clarify because this bill was never meant to breach encryption. We have, the language is very clear, it's about systemic vulnerabilities. To us, we read that as ensuring that if encryption is breached, then that would not be allowed. So we will clarify it in the bill, and we look forward to working with the opposition on an appropriate language that we can live with. But also, the level of misinformation that is out there really doesn't speak to what the bill says, right? So for example, when we talk about metadata, and again, we will clarify what metadata is. Metadata, it does not imply that we are looking for backdoor ways of collecting information. This is about retention of data, and if you look at the Five Eyes G7 countries, they have very similar types of legislative tools that are embedded within their lawful access regime. Canada, incidentally, is the only country that doesn't have a lawful access regime. So it is not a matter of this is an optional bill. This is something that needs to happen. And as technology evolves, as technology continuously far outpace all of our abilities to even understand it, we need to have better tools. And what I believe is that C-22 brings us to date with what's required, and we need to continuously evolve and evaluate what more is needed.
So, Minister, can I just jump in on the point you just made about privacy concerns about tech giants? Explain to me, do you find that big companies like Apple, Google, and Meta who testified don't actually protect people's privacy? Is that your point?
Well, my point is that there's no transparency on what type of privacy that is being protected. So we know, and it's generally accepted that email platforms, for example, does have ability to use our information, our buying habits, our consumer habits, what preferences we have. So there's a number of information that is gathered by all platforms, and I don't want to highlight this one because I do think it's across the board. And that information is readily and consistently collected. I drive a vehicle where every single point that I drive to is tracked, and it is not, that data is not with me. That data is not, that data is with the car company, and we are all driving vehicles that now have different levels of capabilities, but ultimately that level of micro information is available to be used for AI, to be used for. Well, I want to be constructive in this conversation. What I'm saying is for law enforcement to do their job, we need better collaboration with tech companies. Tech companies have refused to essentially cooperate in this process. And what we are looking for right now with lawful access are modest measures that every other Five Eyes country has, and we are just trying to keep up. And misinformation doesn't help us advance what I think should be a very important debate, because look, the privacy rights of Canadians are significantly important to us. It is critical that our privacy is protected. And lawful access, the way our framework works, it does have measures in place that ensures that privacy protections are there, and there's judicial oversight over the work that law enforcement will be doing.
Will you accept an amendment around metadata? That's also a big concern, that the year-long retention date that's in the bill. Would you be open to lessening that to a few months, as some people have suggested?
So the language says up to 1 year, retention up to 1 year. And it's very much in line. Australia, for example, has a 2-year retention period. So I believe 1 year is a reasonable timeline. If you look at a life of an investigation, oftentimes it takes several months to even get to that point, if not longer. So 1 year is informed by what law enforcement has said that they require for them to be able to do their jobs more effectively.
Aside from the encryption and clarifying on that, what exactly are you willing to clarify other than that, or walk back on, because you are just defending most of the bill?
What amendments will you bring today?
Well, I will say that we're working on a number of amendments. I talked to. Well, we have until I think 5 o'clock today to provide that. I just spoke to. Actually, we can go and draft it together if you want. I just spoke to my conservative colleagues. They're working on their amendments. In general, what we will ensure is that there's clarity on what encryption is. We will ensure that there is a clear definition on what metadata is. We would ensure that the metadata piece is in line with our U.S. counterparts' language in their bill that essentially speaks to lawful access. And we will also, we've heard on the issues around compensation for services, for telcos, for electronic service providers. Again, the language does enable the minister to provide funds under some limited circumstances. So we will look at all of these. We will look at a range of bills amendments that will come forward, and we will be reasonable in how we assess it, and we will, what we are looking for is to get this bill passed through the House as soon as possible. Law enforcement does require this as a baseline for them to be able to do this.
One last question.
I'd like to ask a question. You talk about privacy, and the Privacy Commissioner yesterday proposed a series of amendments to tighten things up in that regard. Are you willing to accept his amendments?
I will be looking at these amendments. I will look at his proposals. I did speak to the Privacy Commissioner earlier, and I will be looking to see what he has to offer.
Do you want this passed before the summer? Do you want this passed before the summer?
When will the Foreign Influence Registry be fully operational and ready to start enforcement and have that sort of the registry available for the public?
That's the last question. Thank you.
So we have appointed a commissioner, and Anton Bogman. The regulations are more or less finalized. We will be gazetting them, and we look forward to its operationalization. The work is being done right now, right? So it'll be operational within weeks. My understanding is that it'll be operational within weeks. Thank you.
Do you want this passed before summer break?
All right, so this is obviously an ongoing concern. It was previously, previous version of this was a Bill C2, and that didn't go through. It was pulled. A lot of concerns, these same concerns really, leveled at that bill. But now under the Carney government, Bill C-22 is what we're dealing with here. These amendments still being worked on, as you heard them referenced there. So the amendments still being crafted and would need to be applied. But clearly the government, you're hearing it right there from the public safety minister direct, that they want to get this thing operational within weeks. And I guess they have the votes to do it. But we'll see where it goes. This is a back and forth between the big tech companies, the government. You have to think in terms of like what happened in Tumbler Ridge with that shooting up there. The tech companies not required to come forward and provide information, but a lot of criticism leveled at them for not making that information directly available. This bill ties into those kinds of scenarios. You heard the safety minister talking about sex offenders, dealing with those kinds of issues. And so it's one of these damned if you do, damned if you don't sorts of situations, because when a horrific crime happens, the people point their fingers at government and say, why didn't you do more? They point their fingers at the tech companies. They say, why didn't you do more? But in between these kinds of incidents, people are very concerned about personal privacy. They don't want what they would then say is government overreach. So they don't want any intervention or any laws that would make your personal information in any way available to the government. Keeping in mind, of course, that while the government may not have access to this data, as I've been telling people with regard to those Chinese electric vehicles, the car companies do. The market, then that information is sold to, made available to the other tech companies like Google, Meta, X. They use that data, which is incorporated into like Google CarPlay. Apple has their mobile systems as well, which can be integrated into the tech on those cars. They collect that data. Then that data is sold with a mask on it to advertising agencies and to anybody that wants to do any kind of advertising or boost videos online to a targeted audience. And it can get to be very, very sophisticated with, cookies and tracking and the ability to reach out and touch specific person looking for a specific item, right down to placing ads in front of you as you surf the internet, and very specifically target not just demographic groups, but individual people, and keep hammering you with commercial frequency to get you to respond. I put it to you that they're using it for more than just selling you soap. They're doing it to manipulate us all, to make us think in particular ways, especially during elections. They are targeting all of us with information, propaganda. all the time, and they ramp it up at critical moments, especially in political cycles. Stay with me, more ahead.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Speaking of sex offenders, this 33-year-old man, he's a Canadian, has been sentenced to 33 years in a sextortion scheme that targeted 145 children in the United States. He's a Toronto man, sentenced in Washington, D.C. He'll be going to federal prison. This is a years-long sextortion operation, according to the FBI and I think the DOJ, that targeted more than 145 young people across the United States. Ramanan Pathanathan, 40 years old, sentenced in U.S. District Court today. He pleaded guilty earlier this year to production of child pornography and coercion and enticement of a minor. U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro says the case was especially disturbing. She says the defendant spent years methodically hunting children online. He targeted more than 145 victims, some as young as 6, and subjected them to horrors no child should ever experience. The United States will not allow international borders to serve as a refuge for those who prey on children. Court documents showing that this man used fake social media accounts, mostly on Instagram and Facebook Messenger, posing as a teenage boy from New Jersey. So from 2014 until his arrest in 2021, he pressured young victims, girls and boys, into performing sexual acts on video chat. He then often sent them adult pornography as examples, recorded the abuse, and threatened to send the images to their friends and family if they tried to stop or block him. In addition to the 33-year U.S. sentence, he will also serve 10 years of supervised release and must register as a sex offender. The American prison term will run consecutively to a 12-year sentence. He's already serving in Canada for similar crimes. This case was investigated by the FBI and Texas authorities with significant cooperation from the authorities in Canada. It was prosecuted as part of the Justice Department's Project Safe Childhood initiative. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing and I took the stream down. My fault. I apologize for that. I'll just show you the news release regarding that sex offender from the United States Attorney's Office. So again, here's the balancing act, right? Like, I'm all for privacy, but I know a lot of people, even on the conservative or the right-wing side of the political spectrum, maybe across the spectrum, I think you're going to find a mixed bag. Some people saying they want the government to have the ability to skim data, get data, coerce data, demand data in order to combat these kinds of crimes in a more robust way. But you're trading a promise of safety at the expense of freedom and privacy. So, double-edged sword. I know how it goes. We're all witnessing it, living through it. That Tumbler Ridge case is a prime example where it was revealed that the tragedy could have been prevented had that information been shared. And I don't think that in that case, privacy would necessarily have been breached in the same way that people are concerned about Bill C-22. So we'll see. I just have to sit back and wait, I guess. But between now and resolution on the issue, I will endeavor to read Bill C-22 in whole, and then come back and we'll take a little time and go through it and assess it in the nights ahead. How's that? So we can find out what's really going on. Also, with regard to the relationship between Canada, oh, for crying out loud, don't do that, Rick. Don't take it down again. Okay, we're still up. I almost lost the feed again because I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay, we're good. Canada tonight, it's been revealed, was able to provide assistance to Americans who were trying to get away from Donald Trump's war with Iran. Canadian officials in the Middle East apparently confirmed tonight, while all the chaos was going on in the first days of the war, the United States had left with Donald Trump left Americans high and dry in the Middle East, and Canadian officials stepped up to help those citizens. They provided assistance. This all being revealed by the U.S.-based publication Semaphore, because the Americans, I guess at the time, didn't have a facility for U.S. citizens to pick up new or renewed passports. Paperwork they would need to get out of there. So Canadian officials in the UAE gave U.S. consular staff some space to set up at the Canadian embassy's check-in counter to get American citizens the paperwork that they required to leave the region. And in fact, Canada provided similar assistance to a number of countries at the time, the UK, Japan, as well, of course, the United States. And this is why I've said for a long time, I think in many respects, Canada is more valuable to the United States as an ally and a sovereign nation than it ever would be as a 51st state. It makes me think back to the Iran hostage crisis in 1979, and the way that Canada helped get Americans out back then, and echoes of that tonight. Okay, let's move on to this LNG story. Canada finalizing this deal on LNG with an LNG deal with Germany. We told you about it last night. I'll highlight it here. Then we'll go to Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party in Canada, who very critical. Not surprising. He wants the prime minister's job, so he's going to criticize everything, right? That's his job, to be a critic, the official opposition. Let's bring it up on the screen. Here's the headline over on CTV with regard to this. German utility to buy 1 million tons of LNG per year, and deliveries to German government-owned company Securing Energy for Europe, or SEFE, beginning in the early 2030s, cover a period of up to 20 years. This is from Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson, told a news conference in Vancouver today. He says, in a moment that feels uncertain and volatile, the world trusts Canada. So it's a real project. LNG will be shipped off the BC coast on specialized tankers. Federal and BC governments supportive of its development, touting it as a cleaner alternative to coal for power generation and a bridge in the gradual transition away from fossil fuels. It's huge money. It's a big deal, but it's far away. These ships will make their way to Germany through the Panama Canal, as I understand it. So it's a bit of a journey. But the government's saying it's a new revolution. Environmental groups have disputed these politicians and industry players, though, casting LNG as a green transition fuel. They point to emissions of methane as a concern. And Pierre Poilievre saying he wants to give the federal government a geography lesson. He produced a promotional video in criticism of this, which was released on social media today, but I'm going to give you his scrum with the media on Parliament Hill instead of just the commercial message.
What we've learned is Mark Carney's promise that he would reverse everything he had said and that his party had done in the prior 10 years was all an illusion. It's been more cost, more crime, more corruption, more grand announcements without action, more of the same. He is just another Liberal. Take, for example, today's headlines without deadlines. The Minister of Natural Resources made a grand announcement of a deal with Germany. And where have we heard that before? I have here the last time the Liberals announced a deal with Germany. The joint declaration of intent between the Government of Canada and the Government of the Federal Republic of Germany on establishing a Canada-Germany hydrogen alliance. In this agreement, to which you all gave copious amounts of coverage, uncritical coverage, they promised that they would be delivering boatloads of hydrogen to Germany by 2025. Well, here we are halfway through 2026, and how many boatloads of hydrogen have been delivered to Germany? Zero, not a tablespoon. In fact, there's not even a shovel in the ground for a future hydrogen terminal that could ever manufacture or ship the stuff. And now they're getting another round of uncritical media coverage for yet another fake agreement that will ultimately result in nothing. But before I comment on that, let me just say Conservatives are announcing today a new private member's bill that will require mandatory Geography 101 for the Minister of Natural Resources. Because today he was asked an inconvenient question: how are you actually going to get natural gas from British Columbia to the North Sea? And his answer was that there's going to be a ship that's going to go all the way down to the Panama Canal, along the side of the United States, and then through the Caribbean islands, all the way back north to Germany. But most ships, he says, will be too big for that. So they'll have to go all the way down around the southern tip of Latin America, and then all the way back. But even more than that, he's going to have ships that are going to go across the Pacific, around Asia, around Africa, and then all the way back to the northernmost part of Europe, where they will deliver the gas. When we could have simply delivered the gas from eastern Canada, where there were 3 terminals that the Liberals have killed. One in Newfoundland. We have our members from Newfoundland here. Jonathan. Jonathan's here. His constituents could have been working on the LNG Newfoundland and Labrador project, which would have pumped gas from the Jan d'Arc oil field to a liquefaction ship on the shore off to Germany. Liberals killed it. Then there was the reversal of the Repsol terminal, which was going to take an existing import terminal, turn it into an export terminal, send it off to Europe in St. John. We have our member from St. John here, whose constituents lost out off that opportunity when the Liberals killed that. And then the third, Saguenay, the LNG Quebec project, which would have liquefied Canadian gas on the St. Lawrence, sent it off to Europe. Liberals killed all three of these projects, which, by the way, would have delivered gas in half the time it takes to get from the U.S. Gulf Coast, and instead those projects are now dead. And the Liberals expect us to believe that someday, over the rainbow, they're going to send ships through 4 continents all the way around the world to do what we could have done in a quarter of the time if they had not stood in the way. It is more headlines without deadlines, announcements without actions, illusions without reality. When is the media coverage actually going to scrutinize the results of these endless announcements and look at what they actually deliver? We as Conservatives want to repeal all the anti-energy laws, provide pre-permitting for LNG liquefaction plants and the pipelines to supply them so that they can get approved within 6 months, get rid of the industrial carbon tax, and that we can get these projects done. I would add, by the way, you actually don't need to sign new agreements because the rest of the world is already begging for our energy. It doesn't take a master negotiator to convince a man in the desert to take a glass of water, right? It takes the ability to deliver the glass of water. And right now, it's not that the Europeans or the Asians are keeping our energy out, it's that our Liberal government is keeping the energy in. We need to repeal those laws, unlock our industry, no more phony announcements. It's time to turn the illusions into a reality and start getting things done. That's why Conservatives keep fighting for a Canada that's affordable at home, strong at home, safe at home, and united at home.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez du départ de M. Stephen Guilbeault?
Évidemment, M. Guilbeault a réussi à imposer son idéologie anti-développement qui reste en place aujourd'hui. Les taxes carbone industrielles, une nouvelle taxe carbone pour les consommateurs, des lois de Justin Trudeau C-69, C-48 qui empêchent le développement de nos ressources naturelles sont tous inspirés par M. Guilbeault et ces lois restent tous en place aujourd'hui. Donc, M. Carney continue avec le patrimoine de M. Guilbeault et M. Trudeau et malheureusement, nous payons le prix avec une faible économie, avec une économie trop dépendante sur les Américains, avec le manque d'emploi.
On development projects, the government has put forward a consultation paper on potentially shortening the times for approvals and moving the approval for pipelines to the energy regulator. I presume that will come into the form of a piece of legislation that will be before your desk. Do you support fast-tracking that bill if it comes forward?
What bill? Where is it? He's been in office for 14 months now, promising he's going to fast-track approvals. And what we have is a discussion paper. It's, you know, as Elvis Presley said, a little less conversation, a little more action, please.
What are your comments on that? And doesn't this show that Mark Carney is moving away from those Trudeau-era policies, given that Stephen Guilbeault, well, they canceled the carbon tax.
And then they brought a new one in.
They signed this MOU with Alberta.
Which hasn't implemented anything.
They're supposed to by July 1st. I'm just saying, though, like there are these examples that were so egregious to Mr. Guilbeault that he felt the need to step down. So what do you make of that?
Well, I would say that Mr. Guilbeault should cheer up because, frankly, all of the radical anti-development net zero policies that he and Mr. Carney both supported over the last 10 years that are found in Mr. Carney's book are still actually implemented. Every single anti-development law remains on the books. The industrial carbon tax is not only on the books, it's going up 6 times, according to the Prime Minister. The consumer carbon tax has been renamed and reintroduced. It will be bigger and broader than the previous Trudeau carbon tax. And there is no pipeline that is actually pathed for which there is there's no investor, there's no start date, there's no proponent. So, frankly, Mr. Guilbeault's radical anti-development agenda, which Mr. Carney enthusiastically advocated in his own book, all of that remains in place. The illusions of grand announcements and smiley face signing ceremonies notwithstanding, everything remains the same, and Mr. Guilbeault's agenda is firmly crystallized under this Liberal government.
Has Guilbeault's career fueled Albertan independence?
I think he has fueled a lot of resentment, justifiable resentment, from people who can't work, I met people in rural Alberta, two gentlemen living, sharing a trailer, even though they're both qualified and licensed tradesmen who used to make six figures. They had to move in together at age of 50 because they can't work in their own sector. So the Liberal government, because they implemented all of the prescriptions in Mark Carney's book Values, the net zero agenda of shutting down oil and gas, have impoverished a lot of people, have weakened our economy, made it far more dependent on the United States. Mark Carney obviously founded the Net Zero Alliance, which was a coalition of banks who wanted to defund and destroy the oil and gas sector. And Mark Carney continues to ultimately implement that agenda in practice, even while he creates the opposite illusion on television.
Dans le dossier des avions radars, le Canada négocie avec Saab et non pas avec Boeing. Est-ce que, selon vous, on devrait craindre des représailles de la part des Américains?
C'est encore une autre grande annonce sans résultat. Il y a des consultations, des pourparlers, c'est les paroles. Et M. Carney a avoué qu'il n'y a même pas un contrat aujourd'hui. Donc, on n'a pas besoin de paroles, on a besoin de l'action.
Pourriez-vous nous dire si de votre point de vue, pourriez-vous nous dire si du point de vue des conservateurs, la majorité dans un référendum sur la séparation, c'est seulement et uniquement de 50% plus 1?
Nous supportons l'unité canadienne et on va travailler pour unir le pays au lieu de faire des menaces et d'attaquer les Albertains. Nous, les conservateurs, allons inspirer une unité à travers le Canada. Nous allons unir tous les Canadiens et nous allons encourager tous les Canadiens à communiquer leur grand amour avec les Albertains pour qu'on puisse s'unir une fois pour toutes. Merci beaucoup.
Of the planes, I'm wondering what you think of the government's attempt to move away from American military capabilities.
Well, we'll see if it's just another illusion, but let's just be clear that what Mr. Carney announced today was just more talk. There's no contract, there's no deadlines, so we're not going to debate Mark Carney's endless illusions and announcements. That would be to confuse activity with achievement.
Access Reform Bill C-22. Is there a path for Conservatives to support that bill in committee? And if so, what changes do you expect to see?
Well, once again, we see the Liberals going after the good guys. You know, they do this with firearms where they target licensed, law-abiding, trained and tested farmers, hunters, sport shooters, instead of going after gun criminals. When it comes to online crime, they choose censorship rather than shutting down perverts, pedophiles, and other predators. And now here we have another bill where they try to turn the entire tech sector into a gigantic surveillance arm of the state, which will kill many jobs and drive many of the best businesses out of our country. So it is just another example of a government that wants to control Canadians' lives. And you know, they've achieved something very unique. Normally we talk about the tension between liberty and order. They've managed to create total disorder while attacking liberty. You know, it's incredible. You see, we have total disorder in our streets. We're anti-Semitic riots everywhere, fire bombings of synagogues. We have crime and violent crime up 50%, extortion's up 2,400% in Surrey, and yet at the same time, they are using the heavy hand of the state to rob people of their basic liberties. You know, some people think you have to choose between liberty and order. The Liberals choose neither. We believe you can have ordered liberty if you have a government determined to stand on the side of law-abiding people.
Okay. Well, we're getting into other subjects there. I want to kind of keep it focused on the top stories. So I'm just going to swing back here for a moment. We're going to get you Guilbeault's comments on his resignation. The Prime Minister also being asked about it today, saying things change. The reason Guilbeault resigning is because the big issue is the Memorandum of Understanding, the effort to push through the oil pipeline to the West Coast. But it's also Carney's move toward developing carbon-based resources, carbon fuels, oil, natural gas, and bringing those to market, which is what Trudeau was not doing, clearly. Now, and, you know, Pierre Poilievre disputing that. I'm going to actually dig in and check to see how accurate his statements were here tonight as well. But Carney is saying that things change, keeping in mind, too, that yes, his book written some years ago now, actually. And while I have, views about that book after having read it, and much in the second half is related to climate change, and I have issues with what he wrote in that part of the book. I'm not sure that what Poilievre is saying there is an accurate representation. It's a loose statement, I guess. But the point being, I want to be accurate about this stuff. So today, Carney saying things change. So they're moving ahead pragmatically with these energy projects. Guilbeault doesn't want to have anything to do with it, so he's stepping down. He's leaving politics. And we have the comment from Carney here, part of it anyway. So I preface it with the quote where he says things change, and the rest of it is here.
First and foremost, what I want to do is thank Mr. Stephen Guilbeault, for his many contributions, for the members of his riding, first and foremost, a dedicated MP for Ville Sainte-Marie for these years, for the people of Canada, for the government, for the cabinet, for myself and his vice. We've worked together. We worked together when I was UN Special Representative on climate action and finance as well. So we worked together closely in a variety of areas, and I've always enjoyed working with him. And then, in terms of the follow-up questions, of course, it's for him to make decisions about his career and the next stage of career. All aspects of all our careers, even journalists, even prime ministers, get to a point where things change and people make decisions. And I very much respect that. And as I say, I've enjoyed it, and I wish him all the best. And I'm sure in some way, shape, or form, we'll have an opportunity to continue to work together on issues of interest.
That was a big nothing burger. Just political diplomacy articulated. Here's Guilbeault over on CTV Power Play following his announcement saying he's leaving, and he acknowledges that it's that pipeline to the West Coast that convinced him to leave. So if it's not real, I guess he resigned for nothing. If indeed it's just a fake illusion, as Pierre Poilievre said, if it is something, then I guess he'll have something to protest, and he can go back to marching around with his Bristol board signs saying whatever, hell no, we won't go.
But obviously the one element that was going to be a determining factor was the result of the negotiations between the federal government and Alberta through this MOU process.
So is it fair to say that the MOU as it landed a few weeks ago is what determined your decision?
Yes.
And if that MOU was not signed, would you still be a politician?
So I published a letter to the editor some weeks ago in the Toronto Star and La Presse, saying basically I wasn't opposed to the idea of signing a memorandum of understanding with Alberta, but we shouldn't do so at the expense of our plan to fight climate change. As a cabinet member and as a member of the Liberal caucus, I have supported what we're doing in terms of investment in defense. It's very important. The world is becoming a more dangerous place. But last time I checked, tens of thousands of Canadians haven't been displaced because of threats from China, Iran, or Russia. Tens of thousands of Canadians have been displaced because of the impacts of climate change. Year after year, forest fires, floodings, atmospheric rivers, heat waves. And to largely abandon the fight against climate change as part of this agreement with Alberta. We're not stopping everything. There are some measures that are staying, investments, tax credits, some regulatory measures. But we're, to use a very bad analogy, we're putting our foot off the gas when it comes to fighting climate change. And I think Canadians are going to pay the price.
So just to put a sort of blunt point on it, because I asked many ministers of the government you're a part of about this and about the targets that have been put in place. Is there any world in which you can foresee, given what you have, witnessed over the last year, that those targets in 30, 35, or 50 are met?
Imagine going.
So, again, if it's not happening the way Pierre Poilievre says, then Guilbeault resigned for nothing. But if what Guilbeault says is true, then what I've been saying is also true, that you have a bunch of people, liberals within the Liberal caucus and the backbenchers just through the party, who are not happy with what Carney is doing, because he is doing what David Eby, the Premier of Alberta, says is going on. He's rewarding bad behavior out in Alberta by giving them a pipeline that Pierre Poilievre says isn't actually happening. And I don't know. So a lot of things being said, a lot of rhetoric, a lot of politics being played. And of course, on this side, it's the best thing ever. And on this side, it's the worst thing ever. And the truth, I'm sure, is somewhere in between. We'll keep trying to get you closer to it. And don't forget, big reveal at the end of the broadcast coming up.
We are the Mavericks. Welcome to the Matrix, baby. Hope you like the view. We are the Mavericks. The world is watching. We are the Mavericks.
And also Donald Trump. Coincidence? Just dumb luck. Right? Another sealed file. That crocodile smile. We did our best, says the DOJ, while the truth just fades away. Another new spin. No one will win except the rich guys with gold ID cards and closets full of secrets behind steel
We are back. Stephen Colbert. Is it real or is it fake? Lost his job, ended his gig over on the Late Show. Then, the very next day, a pre-recorded program was aired on public access television in Monroe, Michigan. Only in Monroe is the name of the program. Some kind of weird stuff going on around that. Not unexpectedly, this guest hosting appearance on this public access show has gone viral, and it's being reposted everywhere. And of course, you may know that Colbert, before he began hosting, the day before began hosting late night, the Late Show, he did he was on Only in Monroe. So of course he ended his career with CBS by going back to the public access station, doing another episode that then capped off everything. But here's the weird thing, okay? First, because people are reposting this everywhere, there are copyright takedowns all over the place, or there have been over the past few days. All of them, those, to me, it like issued by CBS. Why would CBS do that? I thought they canned the guy. So in response, what it's initially supposed to look like, it's like he lost his gig at CBS. He's supposed to be upset. He's throwing furniture off the roof of the Ed Sullivan Theater with David Letterman as a gag, pretending to be upset. It's a joke, right? So then he goes back to this public access station and does a closing episode on Only in Monroe. People are like, oh, look, Stephen Colbert is out of a job. He's back on public access. It's a gag. Then tonight I'm seeing some people posting online saying that Stephen Colbert, oh, here it is here, has launched his own YouTube channel, which is hosted, which is where one of the main places where you can find this video of the Only in Monroe episode. But the strange thing is, there is only one video posted on that channel, and I don't think Stephen Colbert controls that channel. I think CBS controls the channel. The reason, and so it's a bit of a mind twist on this, a misrepresentation. It's a marketing, it's a show gag. The whole thing is a gag. If you haven't really clued in, tonight, CBS reportedly backing off on these copyright claims now. But the fact that they were the ones filing the copyright strikes to get the stuff taken down off YouTube, X, Facebook, elsewhere, people reposting it, is because if you go through this story posted on NBC, it says that they actually funded and own the rights to this Only in Monroe episode. It's in here somewhere. Said Only in Monroe episode featuring Colbert was financed and produced by CBS Studios and was posted on Stephen Colbert's YouTube channel in collaboration with Monroe Community Media and the Late Show's YouTube channels. So it's not like he went over there on his own and in some sort of a protest or whatever, did this program, went back to Monroe. Have you seen the episode? I'll run you a little clip since I guess they're not enforcing the copyright takedowns. Oh, I'll probably get hammered, right? I hope not. It's just going to be short. They did a bunch of different gags. In fact, I did watch it the other day, and I thought this is too well produced to be just something that was done community access. The production value is very, much, much lower. Of course, they don't have the staff. I don't have any staff here either. It's like me. Okay. But over at on this program, this is actually a former Miss America that he is interviewing here with her friend, and they're talking about cancer journey. Okay. And so there's like community stuff going on, but there are all these gags and that included inhaling helium so to make their voices funny while they were talking about a very serious subject.
Thank you. I'll take that one. I'll take that one. I'll take that one.
Okay. Okay. You want that one?
Oh, yeah, you can hold that there.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Oh boy.
What was hardest about your health journey?
The hardest part of my health journey was being alone. I didn't like to be alone. For 7 days, I had to be without my family. So a lot of times I took video of myself crying, so I looked a lot like Alice Cooper. No offense, Jack. Okay. You don't wear the makeup. I just because he's a musician, I don't want you to make feel bad.
Listen.
You gave me shot.
Anyway, okay. So it was not bad. It's not a bad episode. If you want to watch it, you can find it. Just type in Olean Monroe on YouTube and it'll pop up. But yeah, the whole thing, it's not really what they kind of portray it as. It's kind of fake, but it's real. He did do the episode at the community access station, but it's not like a rebellious thing. He's still working for CBS. Makes me kind of wonder what is coming next. I don't think Stephen Colbert is done, not by a long shot. He might be off that program, but he's going to be around. He's going to be doing things. There's more in store for Stephen Colbert. He's still too young. He's got too much of an audience. And this, if you go find that channel, you'll see that it's connected. The Stephen Colbert channel is directly connected to the Late Show channel. They're both together, a joint channel thing. And it's all CBS. So they own it. They own him. I don't think he's done. This is kind of my point. So stay tuned. More coming from Stephen Colbert. I'll have my big reveal. Do you want to do it now? Okay. So this is for Maureen, because Maureen sent me something in the mail. And she said, you don't have to wear it, but I sent you this. And what it is a statement on media in 2026, I think, is what she was kind of getting at. If she didn't intend for that, that's exactly what it is. So she sent me this thing, and it is wearable. And I'm going to share it with you, because I think it reflects perfectly exactly what went on here tonight with all of this back and forth on, the procurement of surveillance systems from the sky and digital tech, and whether or not these pipeline deals are real or fake, and opposing political opinions on all these things. And everybody's fighting and arguing, and that's the sound of freedom, I guess. Always has been, as people express their views and the political rhetoric gets ramped up. And so what does it all mean? It's very hard to kind of summarize in a very concise way what politics really means. Like, what is it? But Maureen sent me this in the mail. And it's the perfect definition, the perfect way to explain the state of politics in this post-realist reality that we are living through in this new digital age. Are you ready? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So this shirt comes all the way from Prince George, the city of Prince George in beautiful British Columbia, home of some of the most beautiful people in the world, some of the nicest folks you'll ever meet. Prince George, where they have summed up the state of politics and political discourse in 3 simple words. It's all right here on display in a perfect 50-50 cotton polyester blend. And I thought I better share that with you. She said I don't have to wear it, but how can I resist? This is all that was ever said tonight anyway. And we say it here quite often, don't we? Blah, blah, blah. That's what politics is all about. Because any way you slice it, it all comes down to whatever you want to believe, I guess, in 2026. Because, my friends, it's all fake. And we'll have more of it tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
Biden's a bot, Charlie's alive. Elvis flips burgers on the Lower East Side. 10 Trump's mask up on your phone. Shilling meme coins by remote drone. Graphene needles in your veins. Chemtrail sugar fries your brain. George Floyd's American hologram pie. Don't trust your lying eyes. It's all fake. It's all fake. The moon is a hoax. Give your head a shake. It's all fake. It's all fake. Your mama's a lizard. Your daddy's a snake. Bigfoot codes, the Mossad plan. Flat Earth truckers fighting the man. Dinosaurs guard an empty fed vault. Truth is dead and it's the media's fault. Conspiracies are real, let it sink in. Time travel, JFK is president again. 9/11's a VR game. The elite cut deals in the devil's name. It's all fake. It's all fake. From the jab to the pills that you take. It's all fake. It's all fake. The Pope's in a bunker with Q as his mate. Your phone's a snitch. Your dog's AI. The king eats penguins in conspiracy pie. JFK Jr., Cobain, and Tupac. They ain't dead. They're all coming back. It's all fake. It's all fake. Every headline, every handshake. It's all fake. It's all fake. FBI, CIA, KGB, ABC. Are you awake? Don't believe your lying eyes. It's all fake. It's all fake.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.